Welcome to Behind the Build. I am your host, Jonathan Jacobs. And before I introduce today's guest, I want to remind you, you're listening on a platform. Please make sure that you take a second and give this podcast 5 stars. It's going to help with our overall visibility and people's access to seeing the podcast. So again, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, 5 stars, please. Secondly, make sure you do take a follow of the Behind the Build Instagram account. One of the sponsors of the podcast, powered by Walden Homes, is Lutron. Now, I know that if you're an architect or designer, you might think you know about Lutron, but did you know this? In 1959, they were the originators, the inventors of the rotary dimmer. Now, fast forward decades upon decades later, and they acquired a company called Ketra. And what's Ketra? Well, imagine that you could tune the white light in your home to any temperature, from a bright, energizing white light to a calming, candlelight glow. Ketra is Lutron's architectural-grade lighting that not only makes you feel your best, but also enhances the materiality in the space. Whether it's brick veneer, Venetian plaster, or a prized collection of paintings, you can tune the lights to unlock the object's most vivid colors. So they've got you covered on lighting. Then they have incredibly beautiful automated shades. They provide whisper quiet privacy, balancing daylight with UV protection, and finally, the element that brings it all together are Lutron controls, crafted with authentic materials that bear the marks of artisanship. Their mission is to make light an integral part of the human experience. They are rewriting the story of light and creating technology that works intuitively with us to make the world a brighter, more beautiful place. If you'd like to learn more about this, feel free to email me and I'll introduce you to some of the amazing people on their team. Again, my email address is jonathan@waldenhomes.ca. JONATHAN@waldenhomes.ca. And now, Kaplan's Appliances has been a staple in the city of Toronto for over 80 years. I've told you how it's a generational business, currently in its 3rd generation of operation. A pretty special feat when you think about how many businesses come and go over the course of decades. And that's largely due to the fact that their main ambition is service. Anyone could offer the sale of appliances, but in order to be able to properly service people, well, that's where you set yourself apart. I used Kaplan's, obviously, for my own home. I finished a renovation a couple of years ago, and one of the key elements in making the decision for our appliances was that we wanted to get something that was going to have induction as a cooktop. We wanted that because of speed. With young children coming through the door at the end of the day, they generally can get hangry. So to avoid that, if you were in a pinch and you needed to let's say, boil some craft dinner for the kids, because not every night is a gourmet meal, if we're going to be honest with each other, you can go from the point of them walking through the door to them sitting down and eating within 10 minutes. Water's boiled, the noodles are ready, you throw in the powder, a little bit of milk and butter, and next thing you know, your children are eating and you've avoided the hangriness. Kaplan's has actually been supplying induction cooktops for over 20 years. And to my knowledge, it's actually largely where the entire industry is going to shift. A lot of people don't want gas in their house anymore. If you don't know much about induction, I would highly recommend reaching out. You can email me and I can set you up with an in-house appointment with them where you can actually watch one of the chefs prepare a meal for you at the store on an induction cooktop to see for yourself how incredibly efficient it is. My email address is jonathan, JONATHAN, @waldenhomes.ca. I look forward to hearing from you. And now, I want to tell you about a window and door supplier we've been working with for the last number of years. The company is called The Doors. They're a European window and door supplier introduced to us by Eisen Architecture, and we have subsequently partnered on a number of projects with The Doors supplying their product alongside Eisen Architecture and us on a number of projects, which is now kind of filtered over into some other projects where they've installed incredible curved glass and curtain wall with Drew Mandel Architects on a project with us, as well as SMPL Design Studio. I have the product installed here in my own house, and my youngest daughter, who is under the age of 8, is able to open the door at the back of our house, and it's a 16 by 8 slider. So one fixed panel that's an 8 by 8 and one sliding door that's an 8 by 8. And my 7-year-old has no issue opening the door up and sliding it. When you think about what it weighs, you would expect that she would not be able to do it, but you can. I say this because if you're installing windows and doors in a home or in a commercial project, whether it's a gallery or a restaurant, the concept of being able to have something that can function well, but also hit all of your R values with a profile that meets the requirements of the architecture is an important detail to be able to hit. The R values you get out of the product can either meet or be slightly below Passive House, which is amazing. And in addition to that, we have never run into a production issue where the product shows up late to a site. If anything, we've actually had it show up early and they've had to store it. And the beautiful thing about all this is that Martin and Marta, his wife, are involved in all facets of the business. Martin's there from the point of sale through to the installation, through to service. And the product is readily available through all of North America. If you're interested in learning more about it, I would be happy to introduce you to them. We asked them to be a part of this podcast because of the way they service our clients and the way that they manage their business. To set up an introduction, feel free to email me. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, at waldenhomes.ca. While this is a largely visual element of what we do, and I say that, I mean that the people that I speak with, everyone's involved in design. It's a very visual medium and tangible. But the purpose of this podcast is not to show who people are. It is just solely about the merit of the conversation. But when you see on Instagram, when you go to Instagram, you see what I'm posting about, you'll see the work of the people that I speak about. And today I am speaking with someone not local. I have with me Andrés Muñoz Alarcón from EStudio AMA in Mexico City, Mexico. Andrés, thank you so much for joining.
Jonathan, thank you very much. Thank you for having me here at this podcast. We're super happy to be here behind the build. We appreciate, having this open space and having that podcast with you, and we're happy to participate.
It's my pleasure to have you on. And I want to make sure, I'm going to say it. Did I say the name correctly?
Yeah, correctly.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
Okay, good. I took some time to practice this to make sure that I was going to get it correct because, as I've said to Andrés and I've said to others, it is really important to be able to get someone's name correct. There's a whole line of people that made sure that name came to fruition upon birth. So I want to get it right. I want to honor it. So all that said, Andrés, can you let us know you're living in Mexico City? The studio is based in Mexico City. Did you grow up in Mexico City?
No, if I can start, describing myself and the story behind EStudio AMA and me, Andrés Muñoz Alarcón, as you were saying. I was born in Guadalajara. Guadalajara is the second biggest city in Mexico. It's a very interesting city because it has a big population, but also has a big cultural heritage through Mexico, no? Like a lot of elements, they come from there. Like, we can name a couple of them, like tequila, like mariachi. The food is amazing. And not only that, because those elements, they know it internationally, like it's on top of the mind.
Yeah.
But there are also elements important, like, the culture, the architecture. One of the first winners of the Pritzker Prize, the second person who won, is Luis Barragan, no? The architect. He was based from Guadalajara. He was born in Guadalajara. Okay. And it's very interesting because Luis Barragan had a very close friend, Ignacio Diaz Morales, another very important architect, and he designed the house of my grandparents. So it's interesting that we have like a line over there, like like something that it's attached to us and specifically to my mother's family, So I'm from there. I was born in Guadalajara. I was raised in Guadalajara. And then when I was 18 years old, I moved to Mexico City.
Okay.
And then I studied architecture in the Universidad Iberoamericana. It's the Jesuit university here in Mexico City. So yeah, I started there. It was 2007, and I did my degree 5 years. Usually in Mexico, we do directly the architectural degree. So it was amazing. It was great
And
studying
what
there.
was there involved in that program? Was there any form of like a co-op where you got to work at a studio while you were in school, or did they do anything with traveling abroad or anything like that?
They did it, and me, my approach on, studying architecture, like usually a lot of people, they went to have, this how you say, like, yeah, moving to Europe or US and doing some study abroad.
Yeah.
But, usually what I did during my semester, I always stayed here in Mexico, but then on my summers, I moved to other cities. So, one time I moved to LA, so I work in a US firm. It's
Yeah.
Yagar, it's a small firm that the founder used to work with Frank Gehry. So I worked there for a couple of months in Los Angeles. It
Yeah.
was amazing. It was great. And also, one of my thing and my interest was always, seeing more architecture, no? Like architects, we learn from traveling and seeing more the big masterpieces that they've been doing, no, the big architects. So
Yeah.
one summer I was there, and then I studied also at Pratt University. I went to New York also. I did like a summer internship when I did like interior design there.
Okay.
Then I also lived in Paris. So usually my summers, they were pretty intense, no, and on looking around
Sounds
and
like it.
yeah, correct.
And when you were doing this, like, were you going there with this all scheduled in advance? Like, did you already have the job in LA, and were you already, or did you go to LA and then look for something?
Yeah, no, usually what I did, it was always like very well planned. Like
Hmm.
in my way of doing things, I was like very intense on studying. I love architecture since I was born. Since I was very, very young, in my family, we usually travel a lot, and we used to go to big places. I went to a lot of Arab countries that they have amazing architecture, and Europe also, and the US, and then South America. So usually my vision of doing my summers in other parts of the world was very important for me. So I usually planned it like 6 months before, like when I was going to LA, I was, like having all the reservations to see the case study houses. And then I went to see the Frank Lloyd Wright, the big masterpieces, and Schindler, one of my favorite houses that I've been visiting. And, usually I did it very well organized, living in New York too, and then I went to Chicago. So, like for me, it was more important not to go one semester to another place and have this experience. My idea was try to be more intense in my summer. So it was great, it was a big experience, and I think it helped me a lot, on my future career.
Hmm. It's pretty special too to be able to go and study and then go take all your learning and try to apply it to a completely new city every single summer. Like,
Correct, correct,
what a form of engagement and your ability to be able to be resilient. I mean, because like
correct.
like there's a completely different vibe from LA to New York to Chicago to Paris. Like they are not the same at all.
At all. No, no, no. And then, also during my career, also we went, on family trips, and we went to Jordan, and then Egypt, and then we went to Morocco, so Spain, so a lot of places,
Yeah.
and they shape, like
Yeah.
I just did, a lecture in South America. I was
Yeah.
invited, and one of my things that I was explaining is when you travel and when you are familiar on that, you architecture is part of you, it's not like you're learning like just on a classroom, no, it has been part
Yes.
of me, and I'm very happy to share that, because being able to travel, being able to see those things, you learn a lot of stuff, no, and I
Oh,
think
for
that
sure.
shaped my career, shaped my person, no, so it's great, as a Studio AMA, and right now being in my with my own studio, it's amazing, like always to be engaged on that, no.
Yeah, and I mean, you also have like completely different building techniques within each of these areas, right? Like, I mean, maybe not so much as in North America, but when you look at what how things are built in North America comparatively to Europe, to the Middle East, like when you start moving out to the other side of the world, that there's a lot more with just concrete and less stick framing, right?
Right. Correct, correct.
Like where you are right now, I'm looking and I see you've got all this
Oh, yeah.
beautifully formed and poured concrete and steel, exposed steel.
Correct, correct. No, and you know what's interesting? It's also like when you see like when you go to India and then you go to the Middle East, you know, the Arab countries, because India was big, you know, like an Arab state in some
Yeah.
part of the history. You see that they did and they adapt a lot like the architecture on the site, no? So it's interesting to learn the cultures and also try to eliminate sometimes the ideas that we have about other cultures, no? About the history that sometimes we learn through books, and when you go to the places it's very different, no, like the people, the way they dress, the way they eat, the way they do architecture. Religion obviously shapes a lot of the architecture, no, maybe not so much, but before was one of the big statements,
Yeah.
no. So it's you know it's very grateful and it's very gratifying, no, like being able to see that, and you know shapes your person, no. It's amazing how it's always on top of your mind, no. It's part of you when you do those kind of activities, no?
Yeah. So, I mean, based on what you've just said, have there been any standout pieces of architecture or interiors that you have seen that really helped shape you and what you want to put forth in what you design when you think back upon any of these travels?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of. One of my favorite ones is the Schindler House. The Schindler House is in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
No, it's in the flatland, no, of the Beverly Hills, and it's amazing. One of the first, or could be considered the first modern house, no, in history, and it's amazing. He used to work with Frank Lloyd Wright,
Mhm.
Schindler, no. So the way he did architecture and it was super innovative, like the precast, all the walls and all the modules on
Yep.
how it's designed, and like the patio and the natural light, how he brought it in, and then you see like the kitchen and the way the people live on those times. It was amazing. I think it's one of my favorites, and here in the studio. They always remember, no, like as a reference, I always bring that up. No, it's for me, it's amazing. And another, and as being Mexican, I think it's great. But there is a very important. It's a how you say, like a chapel, no, that Luis Barragan did here in the south of Mexico City, is Las Capuchinas, and Las Capuchinas was designed by Luis Barragan, no. So it's a monastery for for a religious, no, for some nuns and monks, and it was amazing how he did, how he brought the light, how he brought like the space, the serenity of space, the silence of space, no? Obviously, Barragan lives in all the Mexicans as an architect. We admire him. My studio is very close to Casa Barragan. We're a couple of blocks from Casa Barragan, like the masterpiece of Luis Barragan. So Las Capuchinas, it was also, it was astonishing to see that space, it grabbed my attention, and it was pretty amazing. And there's another place that could be a little bit, how you say, I don't know how to name it, but it is, Iran, Iran. I
Yeah.
went to Iran a couple of years ago. And when I went to Isfahan, Isfahan is one of the biggest cities with the most cultural and architectural heritage in the world. It used to be the Silk Route. It was part of the cities of the Silk Route that came from China to Europe. So it was amazing to see, like the city, the way was designed, the city of Isfahan. And then one of the mosques that we entered was like amazing, like all the work that they did and the mosaics and how they did all
I'm looking at the
the
mosaics
placement.
now.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how they did. And as I was mentioning, like the Islamic and the Arab architecture is very nice how they blend the culture with the place and also with the tradition. So for me, Iran was, I think, one of my favorite places to be there. And Isfahan, it's just amazing. It shaped my way to see architecture, and also how architecture is placed, and always like we have always this vision, like very romantic or very Greek, no, type of the mindset of the architects, no. But when you learn that type of architecture and when you understand the story of the Islamic culture, it's amazing, no. So I think those three right now I would remember as one of my top. I have a couple of them, the Falling Water house of Frank Lloyd, obviously it's amazing, and
Yeah.
big masterpieces, and also the glass house also, it's amazing. There are several, no, but I think those three could be, and I think they are one of the most representative structures that I've been, no.
Yeah. So let me understand now, as we've now talked about some of the people that have helped kind of shape what you love and define what you seem to want to create for your clientele. You've gone and you finish the 5-year program in university. And then what does life look like from that point forward?
When I was studying architecture, I always wanted to work in a big firm,
Yeah.
Mexican firm, that it's named Sordo Madaleno. Maybe you've heard of this firm, but it's a very big firm. It's amazing what they do. And when I was studying on my last year, I was doing, my thesis. It was, a hell. It was a lot of work, like the last year was, doing a lot. But ending my last and my thesis, that it was amazing. The architect that gave us the lesson was Benjamin Roman, another super big architect, Mexican architect, amazing, one of my inspirations, Benjamin. And then I wanted to go to a big firm. I didn't want it to go to a small architectural firm. My idea was to learn from a big corporate office. And sometimes in the US it's very familiar to see, no, the big corporate offices.
Yeah.
SOM, Perkins and Will. No, right now I remember of those, but there are a lot of big firms in the US and Europe, and mainly in the US, no? So I wanted to learn from a big business and also to be, with those architects. So I brought, my CV, and then it was interesting because everybody was saying, no, it's super complicated to get in there, as always, no? In the big firm, it's complicated. But it was interesting the way I did it and the approach that I had with Javier Sordo Madaleno, no, the founder. When I was 23 years old, I started, working with the firm with Sordo Madaleno,
Yeah.
and I started, as a junior architect, and then becoming a senior architect, and then, I became like when I was like 27 years old, I was project leader, no, so it was a super fast. And in the US, it's very difficult to get like that fast movement, no, but in Mexican, yeah, industry, it's easier not to move around and to do big things. So I worked there for 10 years, more or less. And, I was involved in a lot of big projects around Mexico and around the globe. No, I did also a project in Madrid. I also did some projects in South America, in Colombia, and also in Paraguay. And I also did a lot of projects here in Mexico City, no, hospitality, office, big projects from 150,000 square meters. I also did, some security facilities for a client that we had in Sordo Madaleno, houses. So, I did a lot of the uses. And, from my very young age, right now I'm 35 years old. From a very young age, I had the opportunity to do big things and, like massive projects, no? So it was amazing, working with Sordo Madaleno. And then 2 years ago, I started my idea and my dream. I always had the dream to have my own architectural firm since I started working with Sordo Madaleno. It wasn't like a part of the process that I wanted to quit Sordo Madaleno. I always had the idea of being a founder of a firm, of an architectural firm. No, so after 10 years, it was 2022 when I started conversations with some clients, and also with Sordo Madaleno, with Javier, like, okay, maybe I'm gonna take my own, and I want to do my own firm. So I started conversations and putting EStudio AMA all together. No, so
And
we started.
was it hard? Was it hard to be able to get to the point where you realize, like, I've got to do this, I've got to try, and having those conversations internally with them?
It was super hard, but trying to achieve your dreams, it's not easy. Like, in my idea and the way I see things, and right now I'm doing architecture, but other people could be doing other areas of this industry, or maybe being a lawyer or something. But like doing your own dream is not easy. There is not an easy way. There's no free ride. You have to do the big stuff. And also, if you want to be successful, you have to pay the price. No, you have to do it, and you have to jump out of the cliff and take the chance. No, so I did it. And it was hard, like starting my first client. I signed off a big project in Vallarta, in Puerto Vallarta. That it's a big part of, and also for Canadians and for the US. No, it's a
Yep.
lot of people that go there. So I
Yep.
started that project, and then just like 1 month after, I started conversation for another big project in Guadalajara, that it's a 52-story building that we're doing right now, and we're designing with a US firm. We're designing it with SOM, with Skidmore, Owings and Merrill. So we're partnership with them, and it was obviously it's not easy. And right now, being the founder of a firm, right now we're 25 people in the team, no, and the design team, and we have a little bit more people on some sites. So we are growing fast, and I think we're doing great. No, we
25
love.
people in 2 years?
Correct. We're 25 people.
What?
Correct. Yeah, we're 25.
How have you been able to acquire enough projects to bring on a staff of 25? Andreas, what is going on? What?
Correct. Yeah, it has been fast. Right now we're doing that project with SOM. It's
Yeah.
100,000 square meters. It's not a small one. It's a
Yeah.
big. It's the biggest project in Latin America for SOM. It's Legend Tower. Maybe you've seen it, or you can see it through the SOM webpage.
I'm looking at them now. Yeah.
Big project in South America, where we're designing 4 towers, a 30-story building, more or less.
Amazing.
So yeah, we're doing also that. Then we're also doing a big project in Vallarta. I was telling you, we also have a project in Los Cabos, 70 apartments that we're designing for a client. We're doing a couple of houses also. So we do residential, we do some offices. Right now it's more residential.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a lot of work going on.
And is the residential work, is it exclusively single family, but you're talking also multifamily? So you got both.
Correct. We have both. We have single. We have a couple of houses here in Vallarta also, and in Guadalajara.
Yeah.
And then we have the multifamilies in South America. The one that I was saying right now, it's a mixed use in Guadalajara with SOM. And yeah, it's both of them.
How does that partnership materialize?
When I was, I knew them from my work, where I used to work in Sordo. I knew the firm because they were helping us with some, more structural consulting and, engineer that they also do. So when we started conversations with my client, he wanted to bring an international firm, no? So we went with a couple of internationals, and we went to New York, and then, we had some interviews. And then when we went with SOM, we loved the firm. It was amazing how they do things, how they operate. Obviously, one of the oldest architectural firms in the world. They did the Burj Khalifa. So obviously having them on board was great, no? And we make the decision. My client made the decision. So that partnership, I'm the architect of record, the AOR. They are the lead architects. So, we did that partnership. And right now we're having conversations on maybe doing another project with them, with SOM here in Mexico. No? So, it just made it up, and, has been great. They're very happy with us because, since my lifetime and since working with Sordo, I also learned how to manage this type of big projects, no? And how to do, and how also to organize, because, doing big projects, obviously design is one of the big things. But not only design, like coordinating is one of the big things happening on big projects, like coordination is big, no?
Yeah, we know. I mean, like, we do at Walden Homes, right? Like when we're building, there's a tireless amount of communication that goes on to ensure that whatever is getting built is as close to what was designed as possible.
Correct. And the back and forth, and like having consultants, and then MEP, and then obviously the stakeholders, what they want, and then obviously license permitting. So you have a lot of things going in the conversation. So we have a big team, and we're from those 25. I have a very specific team that they do the high-rise building of the big projects that right now I'm naming, and then we have other teams, like I have a very specific team. It's amazing. And the team is the narrative and the conceptual part. So how I separate my team, I think a little bit different as usually Mexican firms they do. What I do, I have like different. I have four teams. So I have like the small scale, I have the big scale, I have the concept narrative, I have the interior design, and then I also do the coordination for the MEP. So how I do it, they're like leaders, no, of those areas.
Right. So the team that's involved in the concept, are they providing a handoff package to the subsequent team that takes over? And they have then like kind of kickoff meetings from concept to what they need to then take over and how they're gonna, I guess, lead it from that point forward?
Correct.
Yeah.
How we do it in a responsibility matrix, like internally,
Yeah.
we start like the pre-concept and the concept that it's done by that team, that it's
Yeah.
Marisol. So we start that process and we do the kickoff with the client, we do the interviews, we do, like putting all the
Consultants.
program together, no?
Yeah.
And then we take, like a 4 to 6 weeks program, no, where we start the concept, then we present the concept, and then we do that handover, but we don't do it as just on the schematic. What we do is we blend it a little bit more. So on the 50% schematic, that's when we do the handover. So we get involved like the other team, like the big scale, no, like the high-rise building
Yeah.
project where Jorge. What we do, we usually try to blend a little bit more, and then the concept teams like
Full
hands
Yeah.
over, correct, like the project, and then Jorge does all the coordination with the other teams, no?
So okay, so I assume I actually I won't assume. Does the coordination team have more people on it than the other teams?
Not so much, on the
Okay.
concept team, we have, it's a big group. We have 5 people on the concept because we have a lot of projects going on. And we
Yeah,
also,
that's what
correct,
I meant.
because what we also do is not only, as a concept, we also do all the narrative. So usually we also do the branding for the project. That's very interesting because
Oh, really?
usually, correct, we get into the branding and we found that out that on the architectural projects, the people that know the ADN of the projects and like the core, the base of the projects, no, the soul of the projects
Yeah.
are the architects, no, because we bring a lot into the table, and sometimes I think we have the ability to communicate a lot of things, no, it's not only like the architecture per se, no. So what we do, we also hand over and we give the service of branding. So the people that do all the concept and all that part, of the narrative
Yeah.
is based on that team, no? So it's not a small team.
No, so if you say you have 5 people on that team.
Correct.
So that team is essentially the entire marketing team for an individual project. Do you
Correct.
source out any elements of marketing, or do you have to work on an integrated level with any third-party marketing teams as well? Or
We usually do it, but what we try to make with our clients is like the base of the branding and of the ideas, the initial material of the project.
yeah,
Usually we do it in-house and then we hand that over to a third party. But what we love to do is like the base of the branding, the logo, like the specific phrases that we want to bring it up.
right.
It's done internally and then we hand that over. Like there is a big project, you can Google it. It's a very nice project. It's Selva Dentro. And
Okay.
that project is amazing. It's 100 square hectare in the middle of the rainforest near Tulum. And all the material that you see there, like a lot of, like the sketches and the things that are coming up, you can see it on Instagram too. They're made internally here in Studio AMA. So we do hand draw, we do renders, we do like photoshops. We work with a lot of type of techniques. Like we're not only trying to make CGIs, like these high definition images. We usually blend it with iPad drawings and then
Yeah.
we do it also sketching and then we scan them. So part of our process is trying to make it a little bit more humanized, no, less stiff, less digital on some part, no, but we blend it over. Obviously, we use computers.
Yeah.
Technology it's important for us. We do Revit, we do Rhino, we do AutoCAD. We have a big team and we have obviously all the infrastructure. But we love, and it's very interesting when we do the posts on Instagram, when they see like sketches, we get the big likes, it's like
Yeah, of course.
amazing.
Yeah.
because it's more humanized, no? It's less digital. You
Yeah.
always expect a render. You don't expect like more organic things happening, you know? So that's a way we in Studio AMA like to do things, you know, like less in a way. We try to be more flexible, and we also try to give our clients yeah, more options of materials, no?
Right. And so I find this fascinating in the fact that I'm still trying to get over the fact that you have 25 people in 2 years. So because like you're pretty much hiring someone every 4 weeks.
Correct. More or less, more or less, more or less. If you put that on that perspective, correct. It's one person a month,
Yeah.
so a lot.
So and because I want to understand, I can understand in some way about how you're structuring the team, but I'm struggling over my words because I have multiple questions I want to ask, so I'm going to try to ask them in the correct order. When you were starting the studio, did you establish what you wanted for the studio in terms of growth and scale, or were you simply looking at how many projects can I start off with to get my feet in the door of running my own studio?
No, we have it very well planned, you know, since I started.
Yeah.
One of the first people that entered this company, it's Anna, and she is all the financial, all the human resource, so everything, it's very well planned, you know, like
Okay.
being a small firm, and usually in Mexico and in the Latin world,
Yeah.
we're not so well organized. And architects, we always struggle with that, no? So one of my thing is, okay, if we're always architects struggling on, you know, like the finance and organizing, you know, managing the people and managing the resources, what I did when I just started doing that with Anna, we have like a very yeah, like a very well organized projection of our own team. Like right now, before this podcast now that we're right now
Yeah.
doing, before that I was with Anna doing the 2025 projection, no?
Yeah.
Like the people, the incomes, the fees. So that part of, you know, like Studio AMA, I think it's helping us a lot, because imagine like being a founder of a studio and then managing all that stuff is super difficult, you know, to have it on a well organized company. And usually the small companies, they don't have the way, or they don't organize since the beginning. So growing is super complicated, no? So right now I think we have like the right people, and I always had in mind, you know, like we're gonna be a big firm in a very quick time, because also what we're delivering to our clients, I think we're adding a lot of value, no?
Yeah.
Like the type of people we have, like the young people that we are, but also the big experience. We're very well compromised, and also giving all those services right now that I was telling you, like we add that value, no? Like the branding and the soul of the projects, how we communicate the project. So I don't want to be, you know, like stubborn, not stubborn. I don't want to be like, okay, we have everything controlled. No, for sure not, because there are always things coming up.
Yeah.
But since I started, I always had the idea of being a big company, and we're growing, and you know, our idea is to grow more, and not because just growing. You know, our idea is we are sure that in this studio and the firm and the people that are working here are super happy, because we have very nice habits, you know, like in my experience where I used to work before, I noticed that, you know, like usually in the architectural firms, they don't take in account like the habits of the people and how to manage, you know, like the human resources. Obviously, the most important on a company is the people, not the projects. The projects are gonna come over, and maybe tomorrow we're gonna do offices, and maybe we're gonna do projects in the Middle East. I don't know where. But the thing is, how are we blended, like the whole team, no? And if we're well organized, and also we want to bring talent, you know, from other parts of the world. Like right now, we have a person from Chile working here, and our idea is to be a hub, you know, like bring Latinos and also US and Europeans. So we want to, you know, be a reference in the industry and in Mexico, and not only in Mexico, no? That's why also I was being part of this podcast, no? Because we want to communicate it not only in Mexico, no, internationally.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, it's just straight up. It kind of feels like in many ways you're operating on a different level than a lot of people. You seem to have a brand and vision for what you're trying to accomplish with your practice, and to do it all at a very, at a young age, but also to have the vigor to be able to take all of this on. I think what a lot of people, if you're listening to this and you're in this industry, you know what it means when you bring someone new into a team. When you bring someone new into a team, you're talking months of integration and learning process and what communication looks like between people and managing all of that, plus managing the workflow. You know that.
Correct.
Like if you're listening, you know that. So if you
Correct.
think about the concept of bringing someone new in pretty much almost once a month, the amount of time required to get those people engaged in the right way with the practice, it's pretty it's heavy. There is a lot to do,
A lot.
and we haven't even touched on the human side of you yet, beyond the profession, because you
Correct.
got a lot going on that side too, as we briefly discussed before we started recording. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really I'm floored by what you're doing right now. I was gonna ask you the question: are you bringing people in from outside of Mexico? And when you tell me, yeah, you've got someone now from Chile, and you're looking elsewhere, I think it's a really interesting prospect, because I do think that there are a lot of students that come out of schools that are contemplating where they're going to go, and I think that a lot of them are going to want to just kind of go where they can
Mhm.
locally, without the
Mhm.
concept of thinking where, could I go and could I work somewhere abroad like this?
Correct. Correct.
You
And you
tap
know
in.
what?
Go
What's
ahead, go ahead.
interesting for us, it's also it's not being big for being big. Like right
Yeah,
now, I'm reading. I've been reading a couple of books. Like also like entrepreneurship. I read a lot of that. Like right now I'm reading a book of Simon Sinek, and it's not being big just for being big. But what I think and my feel is that we are gonna be able to have a big firm, and we're gonna be able to be a reference in better habits as architects, new habits also.
mhm,
And I'm super aware that Mexico has a lot to offer, obviously in a lot of things, no? But
right.
as architects and the cultural heritage that we have, when you bring people, architects to Mexico, they are like, wow, it's how much design, like everything is design. If you go to Mexico City, like you walk through a lot of parts of Mexico City, and not only Mexico City, just to name Mexico City, it's amazing. So we know and we're completely sure that Mexico has a lot to offer. And understanding like the internationals, like being working with SOM, it has been a great experience. And we also don't feel like we don't know how to do it, like we're able to participate. And I'm really right now looking for working with other international firms. Right now, we're having talks with a firm in Europe, a big firm in Europe that wants to come to Mexico. So, it's behind the fear. It's the things are happening. If you don't have like the will to do the things,
Yeah.
obviously. But you have to pay the price. That I was, starting the conversation. Like we're not afraid of that, and always you have to work the things up, like if you're struggling right now, like ending the year is not easy, like being the founder, paying the fees and paying, all the expenses that we have as a firm
Yeah, your
is not
overhead your
easy.
overhead is not small anymore, my friend.
Yeah. Correct. It's not easy. Obviously, it's not easy, but it's very, it's very gratifying when you see that people that they go, because we have a couple of people that they already went out from the Studio AMA, no? Because they moved from Mexico City, they moved to other places.
Yeah,
And when they say goodbye, it's like I was so happy to see that we helped them out,
yeah,
see what they to get back to architecture. Like there was a girl that she was saying me like, I'm so grateful with you that you brought me again the interest of doing architecture. So we're very like organized. We want to be a big firm, and we are gonna be a big firm, that's for sure. But we want to be very human and very like well-minded, and how can I name it, like yeah, having like good habits, and I'm very empathic with the people, and that's my idea, no, like be a firm that we usually treat the people, and that you feel comfortable working here, and you also feel in a very good ambience, no.
so can I ask, and how does it work? Like, do you have company benefits that you provide to the employees as well? Is that a part of this?
What we do, obviously, we pay a salary. No,
Yeah,
that's a monthly salary,
yeah, yeah,
but we also have them, and in the as an extra. No, we also we inscribe them like in an application when in an app. It's Well Hub, so they have like classes all around, like bicycle, and they have like Soul Cycle, and they have like boxing. So we do that as an extra, no? So
Right.
we give them that like extra or that plus.
Yeah.
We also give them, like a very well, how you say, like security, not security. I missed that out. Like a health
Yeah.
insurance.
Yeah.
We
Health
gave
insurance.
a health insurance, but on a bigger level than they usually that what they do in the industry. So we do like better, and we also give bonus. Ending the year, we give like a little bit extra than it's used on other companies, and then in March we give like an extra bonus on the whole fees and the whole incomes that we do in a whole year.
Oh, you're doing
Then
profit sharing?
correct. We do like a profit, but it's a very small percentage, and we divide it by
Yeah.
the whole team. We divide it by the 25 people. So if I don't know, if we do 10 pesos, then we divide it by the 25, and
Yeah.
it's equally. Right now we divide equally. So everybody on March they get like it's not like a share, it's like an
Yeah. No,
extra
I
bonus.
understand. But,
Right.
but you're taking money that the company has made beyond their salaries, and people are
Correct.
getting a little piece of the pie for their effort.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct. So we implement those things.
Yeah.
I didn't learn that. It's just like me like trying to do things different. So it goes like very natural. It's not like very studied on that. It's like
Yeah.
okay, we want to be this, we want to do that. So I think we try to give extra mile, and also we expect from the people the same. No,
Well, I was just going to say, look, you cannot ask for all of that, but then also not deliver. Like,
correct,
you're
correct,
going to be providing all of these beautiful benefits to people for coming to work there. They need to be able to deliver their product on time with thought. And if that means that sometimes you got to show up early, you got to stay late, or you got to work on a weekend, then you know what? How you manage your time is up to you. But
correct.
here's the work. I'm giving you the work. You will be busy.
Correct, correct.
Fulfill your part.
And as you were saying, correct, like we expect that. We don't expect to have people working 24 hours, obviously not, but we expect to have responsible people, and also to have like in a holistic way. We see that like I'm always telling my people like, like have extra time with your family, with your friends. Like it's important to have balance in life,
Yeah.
no? Like me having 3 kids and my wife. I have a very and I love to be an architect. Obviously, that's one of my big things in my life, and I love doing this. But also, you have to see life in a holistic way, like everything all together in a balanced way. No, so that's one of the things we wanna come up. And if you see big companies in Mexico, there is a very specific one. It's Bimbo, the bread company, the biggest bread manufacturer in the world.
Okay.
And Bimbo, it's based in it's based in Mexico. It started in Mexico City, and the way they do things and they see their employees, it's amazing. Like there is a big podcast. It's in Spanish, but you should maybe I can send it to you. It's
Okay.
amazing. One of the founders is Roberto Cervitje, and the way he communicates, like the value of their people, their employees, it's amazing. And when you see like a truck of Bimbo, it's
Yeah.
super clean, like the people, how they dress, how they communicate. There are obviously a lot of examples. Disney, there are a lot of examples. Obviously, not only Bimbo. But as a Mexican firm, we have to believe in Mexicans, and we have to believe in Mexico that we can do the things in a good way also, and we can be well organized. Like we usually say, no, okay, no, in Mexico it's always, you struggle and it's messy. It's not messy. It's the way you want to do things. And there are a lot of examples. Bimbo is one of those. No, so we're very keen, and we're very well-minded that our people is the most important thing. No, so that's why we want to keep our best talents, and also the talents, and that's why its name is Estudio AMA. It's not named like Andrés Muñoz Arquitectos. Its name is Estudio AMA because we're a bunch of people, creative people, putting things together. The way I operate my firm is not that everything that I draw has to be made. It's like very horizontal, like participating. Everybody can come up with ideas. They can communicate. They can say it. So that's the way we envision. It's like that's the way Estudio AMA is, and we want to be like that. No.
So, what is your involvement like with each team? How much time can you dedicate in a given, let's call it in a given day, but then maybe then subsequently from a day into a week? How much time do you spend with each team, and how much time do you get to be involved in the actual design element rather than the management of all of the people, like the HR?
That's a very good question because sometimes I don't spend that much time. I travel a lot, like last week I was in South America. So we usually do, and we don't have like that well organized. Right now we're putting our things together for next year, like trying to establish more like a well organized agenda with me, like reviewing projects because sometimes we just do, like a whole morning with one of the team, with the high rise with Jorge.
Yeah,
We do it very in an organic way, it's like not very well established.
yeah,
But what right now what we're doing and as a firm that we want to be big and like a corporate office, no, where we're trying to do is also, like give the responsibility to the project leaders too, no. So we
yeah,
don't want to be like everything has to come up to Andres. We
yeah,
try to make it more horizontal. Obviously, big decisions. And what I usually do, I start the design with Marisol, no? Like on the conceptual part, I spend a lot of time with Marisol because obviously that's, starting
yeah,
the projects, no, and the conversation. So usually spend more time with Marisol. And we also do a lot of, digital and, like conversations through Zoom a lot when I travel.
yeah.
So, like right now, and that answer, maybe I don't have the specific, like the organized agenda on that, but we're working on that. No, the idea is to try to deliberate and try to eliminate tasks that right now that I'm doing. No, try
Yes.
to have less. No, so I can have more time on design. No, so less
I
managing. No,
I literally have done the exact same thing. I was very much, I'm not one of the owners of the company, but I was involved in many elements of the operation. And over the last, like, and again, to your point, over the last, I would say 7 months, worked on really pulling me out of all those elements of the operation that had to come through me because it's hard. It's hard to be in so many places at once. If you're going to be in all these
correct,
internal meetings, you can't actually produce anything.
correct,
You don't
correct.
have time left. So, but what I do acknowledge is that in your operation is that you've been able to essentially streamline the understanding of the teams, and then once you've done that, and people have some like sweat equity in the work and they take ownership of it, that's when you can start to now do what you're talking about doing, and that is to figure out, okay, now what's my involvement going to be like? Because then they can come to me and they can ask for my advice on how it's going to have to evolve to move this forward, and you don't feel quite the same pressure and having to be everywhere at once.
Correct, correct, correct. No,
It-
so you have to, yeah, like leave the task or give the task to your project leaders, no,
yeah,
to the leaders that you have,
yeah,
and then you have to have time, on doing the things that you add value, no, like designing and obviously having also like the contact with the clients is also very important, no, and as you were saying, no, like I just got like yeah, what like a drawing, no, like it's just from the Harvard Business Review, no, and how it's named, like when you start a company, no, like stage one, no, you have like you as a leader, no, you have to be in direct supervision, no, and then on stage two you have like supervise, no, supervision, and then you have to be functional. So how the company is like migrating, like right now we're on stage two, no,
yeah,
and how also like the structure of the company is gonna grow. So right now, and to communicate, but right now we're doing all that. We're putting like the schedules for the next year, with the
yeah,
budget, also with the people that are coming, how we're gonna deliver. Right now, we have a third party in our company. They do, all the management, and it's a person that does this type of thing for companies. So she's right now helping me out with my leaders, no, how to give them the tools, no, to manage people and for the future, no. So what we'd like to do is look forward, no, what's coming. So try to always be prepared, no, for the future steps that we want to take, no, and that's
So
organizing.
are you taking business courses as well right now?
This is not business courses. I read a lot on that, I'm
Yeah,
reading a lot on that. Correct. It's not maybe a course, but usually, my brother, he's older and he's very like well on that direction.
yeah.
He sends me a lot of, books on, like project management, also business, how to do things. No, so it's not maybe a course, but I'm always reading on that.
Yeah,
No,
you want to continue you want to continue an informal education.
correct, correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct.
Okay. And so we've talked a lot about the studio, and I mean, I do actually feel like we can continue to talk about a lot of this stuff because it's amazing. There's there's a lot more that you could probably go into. I want to touch on like the human side of who you are. You mentioned it before. You have 3 kids and you've got your wife. And so beyond the expansion of this studio at like lightning rate, what are you doing for yourself to be able to enjoy your life? Outside of the seeing the growth of like what we'll call it like your 4th child, right? I know. In some ways, I guess based on the ages you told me, that your studio is like your second child.
Correct. Yeah, it's like the second, the third.
Yeah, second
No,
and third. Yeah.
yeah, I have 3 kids. It's 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and 1-year-old. So, they're 3 boys. So it's amazing. A lot of
Yeah.
energy in my house. And my wife, no, Maria, that she's very important part of this, of EStudio AMA, no?
Yeah.
She has been super supportive, like starting a business. She was pregnant, no, when I was starting EStudio AMA. So it's not easy. It's like, whoa, you're gonna start a new business, you're gonna have a baby. That's not very responsible from your side, no?
Yeah.
But as I was mentioning, we have to take the risk and you have to jump off the cliff and do the things, and that's the idea, no? How we do it. And my wife she's part of this, maybe she's not sitting here, but she's part of doing the things. And all the people here in Studama, they know, no? And they know that my wife, she's been great, like supportive. She's not an architect, she's not on the design, but she has a very good taste. She understands very good. No, my brother-in-law, he's also an architect, and also from my father-in-law, he's not an architect, but they appreciate a lot of like architecture. So architecture is part of the family. No, so Maria, she's been super supportive, and then having 3 kids, it's amazing. And that part of me, it's so obviously is the balance that I give to my career, as being an architect, and also being architect, it's a lot of work, no? And you're never stopping, no, you never stop thinking, no, of architecture. Like my wife, she's always like, stop thinking, stop looking books of architecture, no? Like I enjoy my time, like doing those things. So yeah, I have my 3 kids, and then Maria. And I also love, one of my things and one of my hobbies is skiing, like snowboarding. Yeah, that's one of
Oh, so
my.
that's why you made the comment about the snowboard behind me. Okay.
Correct, correct, correct. That's one of my favorite activities. Since I was very young, when I used to live in Germany in a boarding school when I was very young, like 11 years old.
Yeah.
I had a professor. He was a pro, really. He was a German. He was a pro of snowboard. So I learned that in Germany. And since then, I've been snowboarding my whole life. So that's one of my things that I super enjoy. That's like my peace time. And we're gonna go in a couple of weeks with my family. And obviously, it's amazing going with the family.
Yeah.
But then usually we do with friends, like
A
once a
guy's
year.
trip?
We go heli skiing. We do heli.
Where?
We're gonna do this time in Alaska, no? So yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing, and I think that's my peace time.
Oh
Maybe
yeah.
it's not so often. I don't do it. I do it once a year, twice a year. But that's one of my biggest hobbies, and it's amazing to do that, no? And brings me a lot of joy, no?
I haven't been on a proper like flight to a trip in 11 years, and I just told my wife, I'm like, I need to go this winter. It's been
You
too
should do it.
long. And I'll tell you, because just on the topic of snowboarding, and I don't get often talk about it in this format. I had gone out to Kicking Horse in on the interior of BC, and we got pummeled with snow. Like the highway had an avalanche just after we arrived,
Mhm.
and they shut down the highway, and so only locals were there, and it was during the week. It was not on a weekend. We had about 3.5 feet of powder. And so after that trip, I bought the board that you're looking at. So if anyone's been over to my studio to record, you've seen this board. It's behind me. It's a Burton fish. It was like one of my favorite things. And I'm saying all of this because when I was out in on a trip the year before that in Whistler, I had fallen into a tree well, and it was one of those moments in
Wow.
my life that like I was petrified and thought I was going to die. I
Uh-huh.
eventually got out, and I was like, from now on, I've got to get a powder board. I'll have more control. I won't have that type of a turn happen again on a two-directional board. Like I got to get a single directional board. And anyhow, I have never used it. I used it once. So
Really?
all that said,
You should give it to me.
maybe I'll meet you somewhere. Have you heard of Kiefer Lodge in BC?
No, no, no.
No.
What's that?
Have you heard of Baldface?
Yeah, yeah, Bullface, yes.
So
Yeah.
Kiefer and Baldface, I mean, Baldface is probably a little more prestigious, but like Kiefer is in the same type of same kind of a
Okay.
category. Baldface is like my bucket list place.
Okay, great. I've been to Revelstoke. I don't know if you've been there.
I have
Yeah.
not. I have friends that go there every single year.
Right. Yeah, we've been there a lot, for a heli and also for the mountain there in Revelstoke. So we usually fly to Calgary and then we go
Yep.
to Revel.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You
it's
rent a
it's
car from
amazing.
Calgary and just drive up the Rogers Pass.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we went to Kicking Horse that year of the Avalanche, when we were driving out of Calgary, as you leave and you pass like the old Olympic Park,
Uh-huh.
you see the mountains in the distance,
Right.
and all you could see was a white wall. It was completely clear in Calgary, but there was a white wall in the mountains. And as we were driving toward it, I said to my wife, I'm like, we are going to have an incredible trip.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing.
So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about everything that you're doing. I am blown away with how much you've taken on and how much it seems like you're going to continue to take on. I'm assuming that the next time we chat, you'll be at a staff of 75, and that will probably be in 6 months.
I hope not. That's a lot of expense. Not 75, maybe 40, I don't know. No, but it's amazing. We're very happy and putting all this together and starting a studio AMA has been obviously it's a hard work, but
Yeah,
it's very gratifying. It's very nice. It's very like people and the projects that we're doing, and we want to do more, no? So the idea is, yeah, to bring more projects, and obviously maybe we can do some projects in north part of America, no, soon. So yeah, we're getting a big firm, and we want to be involved in this type of activities, like with you, Jonathan. We love to be part of communicating, no,
yeah,
and trying to get to a bigger audience, no, and we also find interesting sharing the opportunity and sharing also of doing our own firm. And as you were saying, it's astonishing, it's amazing, but it's possible, everything
yeah.
is possible. It's just we need to make decisions, and let things happen. No, I'm very motivated on doing things, and I look forward always on my life to try to make the best and be a reference, and also to help people. No, so
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I'll tell you that one of I guess, the major takeaways for me in this is that you can be young, you can be ambitious, but you need to be young and ambitious with a plan. And if you're young and ambitious and you really have a plan on how you want to try to attack it, there are a lot of incredible opportunities that can come to you as long as you keep an open mind and you surround yourself with people that can actually fulfill what that vision is and it can appreciate it. And in doing so, you can reciprocate the success of the practice with those people, and they feel like they are now a part of something much bigger than themselves. And what you do is, I mean, it is so impactful, and it changes the way that people live, both from the standpoint of now you have 25 employees, you're putting food on the table and shelter over the head for 25 individuals and whoever has families. Beyond that, the impact on all of the clientele. If you're going to go put in a 190-meter tower, right? Or sorry, 150-meter tower, all the
Right.
families that get to inhabit that and the people that get to experience it, and a hotel and commercial space and all these businesses that people get to walk into, it's really impactful.
Right.
It's amazing.
We wanna have impact on people, and also what I love to also share, it's I have like a balanced life, like we always see like these big companies and the rock stars and the people that they've done big things, and usually sometimes like not having like a balanced life. I'm not very up on that. No, I love to have not only being successful on the business, is being successful in the whole thing altogether.
Yeah,
Family, kids, obviously here with the firm, with the people, with you as a person also. So, we try to communicate that we want to be a reference, and we want to be a person, and not, we want to be people that we motivate, and we bring other people that they believe the same, no? So that's the way we look and we envision things, no?
I love it. Andreas, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. I appreciate you taking the time to do all this. And we're gonna have to have another chat in the coming time to talk about how the studio has continued to expand and what the new projects look like, and what the projects we're talking about now, what they look like once they're complete. I, again, very, very appreciative, and thank you very much for joining on the episode.
Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you for behind the bill. I really appreciate it. It was great, and we would love to be back in a couple of months.
Yeah, I'm with you.